Carlos Magdalena isn't just an expert about water lilies, he's passionate about them.
Water lilies for me are really interesting plants. When I was a kid, I fell in love with them. They are beautiful plants, but also for science. They were around in the time of the dinosaurs, so they have a lot of secrets that could lead to interesting discoveries.
And the latest discovery came recently on an expedition to the outback of Western Australia.
We took a trip which lasted for 25 days. With the help of 2 jeeps, we managed to get very deep into the countryside, and then you have to cross endless creeks and rivers. You get to places where there is no mobile phone coverage, there is the famous poisonous spiders and very poisonous snakes. However, going for water lilies means water, and water in Australia means crocodiles. To be in the middle of a pond and a place where there could be crocodiles, which are 5 meters long, is kind of scary to say the least. But with the help of people watching out and some local knowledge, we managed to collect about 35 types without getting bitten.
And it was worth it. One water lily in particular stood out, beautiful and oddly familiar.
A lovely plant, really. Quite small for a tropical plant, because sometimes they are like massive plants, and this was a little thing, and then they have a very round, perfect shape with many, many petals. They vary from white to light blue to deep blue, and sometimes light purple.
Carlos realised he'd seen this water lily before. It was known to grow in one location in northern Australia, but it had been classified as a hybrid, the result of a cross between known varieties of water lilies and not a unique species. Carlos had even handled specimens before at Kew, but he'd always had a hunch there was something special about it. And that hunch was confirmed when the water lily turned up on that expedition to Western Australia, over 1,000 miles away from where it had first been found in northern Australia.
The surprise was that after knowing this lily very well for several years, then suddenly in Western Australia we found that this was a common thing. We realized that this was a hotspot where this plant really grows.
So if it were to have been a hybrid, the parents would have had to be nearby, and they weren't.
No, exactly. They don't exist in that area. The closest place they may exist may be thousands of kilometers away. There was thousands of them in several ponds, and then you don't have all these other parents, then you realize that this has to be a new species. And then the minute I got close to it and I seen it, it was kind of like a thunder. We can say we hit the jackpot. And now we can be confident that this is a very distinctive, nice new species.
As a botanist, what does it make you feel when you realise that you've identified something that's never been identified before?
A fantastic feeling, really. Suddenly one day in one road in remote Australia, ta-da! All the kinds of facts come together, and then you kind of discover a new species which wasn't new to you, really. It's a very strange situation.
So you've put all the evidence together, the morphology, the look of a plant, the environment, the habitat, and all sorts of other evidence. You put it all together and you've got a pretty firm conclusion then that it's a new species. Yes. Why is it so important for new species to be identified?
If you don't know how many species are there, it's impossible for us to try to attempt to protect them. It's very relevant that we know how many species are there, where do they grow, what is the extent of the numbers of the populations, therefore which are the threats they face, and then try to do something about it.
What's the next step then in the conservation of that newly identified species? What are you going to do now?
Well, the first step will be to officially name it. Also, we collect a very good quantity of seeds. In Kew, one of the beauties we have is that we can grow all the plants under the same conditions. So that will be another step. We will be able then to do things like DNA studies. We can also explore how does it get pollinated, how long the blooms last, does it close at night. Then, more importantly, I will be able to preserve seeds of this species by thousands in the Millennium Seed Bank. And also, which I think is quite important, I will be able to display it and show it to the world. And hopefully will be in display quite soon.
If you want to see our collection of water lilies at Kew, you'll find hardy water lilies in our aquatic garden, Asian and tropical water lilies in the Water Lily House, and you'll also find them in the Princess of Wales Conservatory.